intended from the get-go when we first came into the deen of Allah, or when we learned about these issues, but we got sidestepped here or there. Someone came along and told us something else. Someone came along and gave us another plan. Someone came along and gave us another program. Well, we want the program of Allah Ta'ala and the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that which is the program that the Salaf Salih were upon. There are many issues and there are many matters which we could discuss, but in general, what has to happen is that everyone realizes that this is everyone's masjid. It is not a masjid for the brothers in Newark, but it's a masjid for anyone on the face of the earth who wants to come and worship Allah Ta'ala in this particular locality. Anyone who wants to worship Allah Ta'ala in this particular locality. And come learn the deen of Allah Ta'ala and come advise the brothers. Everyone has deficiencies. Everyone has faults. Everyone is aware of some things and unaware of others. You know, I mean, it's a reality that I may advise you of something today, and then 2 or 3 days later you see me doing the same thing, and I need you to advise me. I've forgotten what I advised you about. To the degree you could probably say, brother, didn't you just tell me such and such and such and such? But this reality that insan, they say the man was called insan because he nasiya, he forgets. Often forgets. And has to be reminded constantly. Constantly reminded. There's a day coming, there's an akhirah, there's qiyamah, there's jannah, there's nar, there's malaika. Constantly reminded, constantly reminded. The day for you to leave this world is coming. You don't know when. Alayka salam, you don't know what will happen or how it will happen, but definitely will happen. And you will meet Allah Ta'ala, who knows all that you conceal and all that you reveal. And no one can protect you from Allah Ta'ala. And if He makes a decision regarding your destination to a place other than what you wanted to go, then that will be the direction that you will take. May Allah protect us all from that. But these are the realities of what we have to remind one another about, particularly where we're at. Where we're at it's abhorrent. It's beyond belief. A man can memorize 10 ayat and go outside and lose it. 10 ayat, God, I had it in the masjid. 10 ayat, come out, look, khalas, it's gone. Ghurur, delusion. Qillat al-a'wan, very few people to help you do good. You want to do shar, evil, you got multitudes to help you. Multitudes to help you. Hey, take this, pay me back when that. No, pay me back. Multitudes. You want to do khayr, very few people is in support of that. Very few people is in support of that. So it takes a lot of tadhiyah, sacrifice, and a lot of striving. And we are supposed to be able to depend upon one another in this regard. As the Prophet ﷺ said, the believers are like one building. You know, one brick upon the other. And another narration says like one body. All these narrations we know, it's just a matter of taking them out of the books and implementing them into our lives. Implementing it into our lives. When we look at the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and the companions, this is the first difference that we notice from that generation and this generation and all the generations that have been successful versus generations that have failed themselves and have failed the Muslims, and that is that they're acting upon the knowledge. What does it benefit us if we memorize the whole Quran, or memorize all of Bukhari, or memorize Muslim, or memorize usool thalatha, and aqidah tahawiyya, and qawaid al-arba, and kashf al-shubuhat, and fatawa hamawiyya, and risala tatmariyya? What does it memorize if we memorize? What does it benefit if we memorize all that and we don't implement anything of it? Don't implement anything of it. It is implementation and actually practically living this Islam on a day-to-day basis. Living aqidah tahawiyya. To your walk in aqidah tahawiyya. To your walk in risala tatmariyya. To your walk in usool thalatha. To your walking like this. When it becomes that, it becomes reality that we're living. Now, for us, many of us is on the shelf. And many of us who have been exposed to the real salafee da'wah, not the slogan, not the mirrors and smoke, But the real Salafi da'wah have not the ability yet to express it to others so that they can come and partake of it. It is really horrible and horrendous. And any other word I could find in English language, but I'm not clicking like that tonight. That the da'wah, a da'wah called Salafiyyah, has been in this area since the last decade, and very few people in this area know it. Very few people in this area know it. And they ascribe to it ugly names and titles. Some of it is due to the fact that Ahl al-Batil don't like haqq, no matter how much of it is shown. But some of it is due to the character, the manner, and the way Salafi has been presented. That has not been presented as a rahmah, a guided mercy. It's not been presented as that which was sincere to the creatures of Allah Ta'ala, to bring those creatures' hearts in contact with Allah Ta'ala and in submission to Allah Ta'ala. It's not been presented like that. Not been presented like someone who has shafaqah, someone who has a sincere mercy. And this is how Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was. Look at all those narrations and look at all those ayat that if Allah Ta'ala say you were about to cry yourself, you're about to cry out of sorrow that they don't believe in that which is revealed to you. About to cry out of sorrow. And this is how the Prophet ﷺ was, merciful. And then when it came to the creation, he gave us the example of being like a man who lit a fire. And all the insects are attracted to the fire. And he said, I'm standing there and I'm pushing you away, like you push insects away. And this shows the amount of activity and concern that the Prophet ﷺ had, that physically he's pushing, if you can imagine, pushing insects away. As much as they are attracted to the light and they constantly come, and you've lit this in an area that is open, right? He said, this is how I am with you, pushing you, and you keep running into the fire. Has the Dawah Salafiyyah been presented to people on that level? That it is a call to all the creation. It is, what is it if you, let's not get caught up on the terms. Take the word Salafi away, Athari away, Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. What is it but the Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path? What is it but the true Islam that Allah Ta'ala revealed from the heavens? What is it but practicing the deen that Muhammad and Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his companions were upon? In our belief, in our worships, in our manners, in our morals, in our whole way of life. That's all it is. How you understanding the deen, بفهم الصحيح, correct understanding. No one has infiltrated, no one has came in and polluted your understanding of what Allah Ta'ala revealed from the heavens. You're up on clarity. And ta'ala basira. You're up on clarity. This is all it is. But sometimes we get caught up in the slogans. Like I said, a brother saying sunnah, 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 and hardly ever picks up a book of hadith. You ask him, well, have you read all of Bukhari? No. English, no Arabic? No. Have you read all 4 volumes of Muslim? No. English or Arabic? No. Have you read all of Riyadh al-Salihin? No. English or Arabic? No. Have you read all the 40 hadith of Noah? No. English or Arabic? No. Then how do you keep saying sunnah? The sunnah's in one valley and you in another. The sunnah's somewhere else. The one who really loves the sunnah is going to be reading those books. Along with Quran, along with tafsir, he's going to be reading those books. And the more you read those books, even if you don't memorize them, you become familiar with the personality of the Prophet ﷺ. As if you could almost picture him in certain events that take place, certain situations that take place. You read the story of Tabuk and the 3 that remained behind, and you see Ka'b saying he came to him, and the Prophet ﷺ smiled at me, but a smile with anger. You picture this. Right? The Prophet ﷺ left his wives and was laying in an attic, and Umar came to him You picture this. The Prophet ﷺ entered Mecca with a black Imaam on, with his head pressed against the camel, making dua to Allah Ta'ala. You picture this. You become familiar with his personality, so you don't have any time for anybody else's personalities. You become familiar with the shakhs of the Prophet ﷺ, his personality, so you don't have time for shakhsiyyah, following anybody else's personality. And that's another issue of the masjid. That the Masjid Rahmah, any other masjid trying to be upon kitab wa sunnah wa salaf salih, is against those two illnesses of shakhsiyyah and hizbiyyah, of personality following, and I don't want to say worship, some say worship, but if you worship, you're really outside of Islam. You get to that level. But personality following and hizbiyyah, any partisanship, clicking up, making ourselves into group, us and them, we, how we, and how they are. And you're talking about your brothers for kitab wa sunnah. Come here, let me tell you. One of those type of things. And Hasan al-Basri rahimahullaah said, and others, that if you see people getting together in secret, they know that they're upon a dalalah. No, you're in the masjid, the house of Allah, you're going to gather in secret, 3 or 4 brothers, 5, 6 brothers, stay away from here. You have your member card, you have your ID. This is not our deen. Similarly, at-ta'assub ad-dameen, being obstinate or prejudicially obstinate and sticking to the view of one scholar. This is nowadays going on. And that means that we respect all of the scholars. And we say, as Imam Tahawi says in Aqidah, and he whoever mentions them in an evil way, فَهُوَ عَلَى غَيْرِ السَّبِيلِ, he's not upon the path. So we don't accept any ta'an of the scholars. Any way you want to do it. You want to be direct with it or you want to be indirect. Any type of ta'an, fault finding regarding the scholars and trying to make individuals belittle the scholars or trying to talk about them in a nasty way. Because if we believe they are scholars, then we must believe what the Prophet ﷺ said, that the scholars are the inheritors of the prophets of Allah. And who inherits from the prophets? Those who are far away from them or those who are most closest to them? Those who are most closest to them. So if they are in fact scholars, then they are inheritors of the Prophet ﷺ and the most closest to the Prophet ﷺ. So if that is the case, then why are you opening your mouth in a negative way? Rather sarihatan, openly, or isharatan, pointing something out indirectly. So we respect all of the scholars, but we also respect at-takhassus, those who are specialists. That among the scholars are those who are specialists in tafsir. فَعَلَيْكَ بِهِ فِي تَفْسِير, you must benefit from him in tafsir. And among the scholars are those who are mutakhassis, all of them generally al-aqidah salima. No doubt about it, all of them are correct aqidah. But those who are like oceans in aqidah, mutakhassis fil aqidah, specialists in aqidah, alayka bihi fil aqidah. And amongst the scholars, those who are mutakhassis fil jarh wa ta'deel. So if you have a problem in jarh wa ta'deel, alayka bihi fi hada. And amongst the scholars are those who are mutakhassis in the matters of talaq, wal khula, and all the stuff that we hear so often, and that area of fiqh. So if you have a problem in that, then like that. Respecting the specialist, respecting the fact that Allah Ta'ala gives His virtue, or gives His bounty to whoever He wills of His servant, and has given certain servants certain things, and certain servants other, is the best form of, is nothing but adl, of nothing being just, but being just. Nothing but being just. So we respect that. And we respect all of the scholars. And of course, we rely and refer more to the major scholars. And this is only natural. For by the fact that they are in fact major scholars. And if we can't get to the major scholars, then we get to those most close to them. And we can't get to those most close to them, then we get to those after that and after that, until you might come to